Clock Tower is a survival horror point-and-click adventure game developed and published by Human Entertainment for the Super Famicom back in 1995. It's the first installment of a long-running Clock Tower series. An enhanced port titled Clock Tower: The First Fear was developed and released for PlayStation and Windows back in 1997, featuring enhanced sound and visuals. The story follows Jennifer Simpson as she learns the secrets of the Barrows Mansion and attempts to escape the game's antagonist, Scissors Man. Much of the plot and many characters are inspired by Dario Argento's film Phenomena, and the villain being partially inspired by Tony Mela's film The Burning. The game features multiple endings depending on the choices the player makes throughout the game. Clock Tower has been re-released on the WonderSwan, Wii, Wii U, PSP, and the PlayStation 3 respectively. It has never been officially released outside of Japan, although there are several fan translations, and those do exist, this being one of them. At the core, Clock Tower is a 2D psychological horror point-and-click style game where the player controls a cursor to direct the main character, Jennifer, and give commands such as investigating objects or opening doors. The interface is akin to a computer adventure game of the early 1990s, but simplified to work better with a gamepad. Primarily, the player can only move, Jennifer, left and right throughout the environment, although there are some rooms in which an action requires Jennifer to step into the background. Clock Tower is unique among adventure games of the era in that it features a stalker pursuing the main character. This delays puzzle solving and requires the player to run in order to find objects or hiding places to fend off or avoid the attacker. The stalker is a 9-year-old slasher named Bobby Barrows, aka Scissor Man, who wields a large pair of scissors. If directly confronted by Bobby, the player engages in a panic phase and must repeatedly pound the panic button to attack the enemy. If Jennifer is low on health or the player does not tap the panic button fast enough, Bobby will attack Jennifer and the player will be presented with a dead-end screen. An interesting game mechanic in regards to health, the game refers to it as Jennifer's health, although the color of the background where her face is shown changes to represent her current fear level. Blue means that she's calm, yellow means that she's startled, orange means that she's alarmed, and finally red means when she's about to panic. When she's in the panic state, she's more likely to be attacked during any direct confrontation with Bobby. Additionally, while running away from Scissor Man, there's a chance that she may trip over, making her vulnerable if Bobby is close by. This reminds me of the 70s, 80s slasher movie where no matter where the girl is running, she always seems to trip over something. Many of Bobby's appearances are triggered by the player inspecting certain objects, but there are some cases in which he will just pop out of hiding spaces and chase Jennifer as soon as she enters the room. Now, I'll be the first to admit that a couple of times he popped out, and even though it's a Snes game, he got me. I was like, hey, hey! Now, considering that this is a 16-bit game and it's a reproduction game, they did a phenomenal job really creating good tension, making you sit at the edge of your seat, and I just really enjoyed the way the characters, the sprites, the cursor move, the music. It's not that long of a game for how it's represented. Like, you would assume that it's, a 6 to 10 hour game. You can get a pretty decent ending in about 3 hours or less. The first playthrough I did in one sitting, which I thoroughly enjoyed, but it's not as long as you would think it is. That's what she said. One thing I noticed, at least for me, I don't know if it's different for other people, but this game is played with just the directional pad and buttons. It's a point and click, so you think it would work with the Snes mouse, but it doesn't. Although it does play really well with the controller. That was something that I noticed right away. I was happy to take out the mouse and use it, because other than Mario Paint, what else would I use it for? But yeah, you're just using the controller for this. So I just have to say that it's a really enjoyable game. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the point and click style, but I am a fan of the horror genre, and a game on the Super Nintendo, especially a game that I didn't play as a child, this was so enjoyable. I can't wait to go back to find all the endings. I hear that there's 5 different endings. I managed to get 2. I used a few walkthroughs, but that's commonplace, especially for older games like this. The translation is very good. But you know, you do get stuck in some parts. I had a hard time getting through the courtyard. You don't necessarily know what to do in the jail all the time. But overall, a very enjoyable game. I highly recommend Clock Tower for the Super Nintendo. Now, of course, there's going to be a few negatives in that the interface can be a little clunky sometimes. You're playing with the cursor still. It is a point-and-click game, but overall, the horror atmosphere, the music, the sprites, the exploration, the mystery, for me, the replayability is very high. Like I said, I only saw a few endings, and I want to see them all. Clock Tower is highly, highly recommended. That's going to do it for another episode, guys. I hope you enjoy this because I plan on reviewing some more of these reproduction carts. Now, I really enjoy putting the cart into the machine. I like having the physical copy in my hand. There's nothing against emulation, but I just like having the game itself. You know, you take it wherever you want, play it whenever you want. It's just, it feels more real to me. So, I think next is going to be Mario, Super Mario, Brutal Mario, or I may still do Mega Man in Mushroom Kingdom. If you have any suggestions for reproduction cards that you think I like, throw them down in the comments. And again, guys, if you enjoyed this episode, maybe hit that thumbs up button. Until next time, guys.